Game 4 between the Golden State Warriors and Houston Rockets was nothing short of a tactical chess match wrapped in a high-octane playoff battle. The Warriors, up 2-1 in the series, came in looking to reclaim momentum. The Rockets, however, were determined to defend their home court. From the very beginning, tensions were high, with Draymond Green and Dillon Brooks exchanging words, setting the emotional tone for a volatile night. Coach Steve Kerr made yet another adjustment to his starting lineup, this time inserting Buddy Hield, after experimenting with Moody and Kuminga in previous games. On the opposite bench, Ime Udoka emphasized feeding the ball to Alperen Sengun early, looking to exploit mismatches in the post. The Rockets started the game with a zone defense, but Golden State swiftly picked it apart with crisp ball movement and perimeter shooting. Despite struggling in previous games, Klay Thompson immediately hit from deep, signaling a hot shooting start. Meanwhile, Steph Curry exploited the Rockets' defensive hesitancy by drilling consecutive threes, including a couple right in front of their bench. Houston tried to respond by shifting to man-to-man coverage, but the Warriors kept punishing them. Jalen Green attempted to isolate Steph, but Draymond prioritized help defense over a full contest, showing Golden State's defensive priorities. On the offensive end, Draymond orchestrated well-timed cuts and passes, including a transition play that set up Brandon Podziemski for a clean corner three. Despite the Warriors' strong start, the Rockets began finding their rhythm midway through the first. Dillon Brooks' energy on the offensive glass and Jabari Smith Jr.'s continued hot shooting kept Houston afloat. Jabari knocked down a tough three and followed it up with a crafty drive off a Sengun dish, cutting into Golden State's early lead. Steve Kerr called timeout to settle his team as Houston launched an 11-4 run, reminding his players to stick to the game plan, execute, rebound, and protect the ball. On the other end, Coach Udoka's zone defense was tested as Jimmy Butler bailed out the Dubs with late-clock heroics. As the quarter closed, the Rockets leaned on Jabari Smith's versatility and Fred VanVleet's steady presence. VanVleet broke the zone with a timely three, and Brooks' defensive pressure forced a turnover that brought Houston within 2 points by the end of the first frame. The tone had been set. This wasn't just a game of runs, it was a battle of coaching, matchups, and mental fortitude. And that was only the beginning. The second quarter opened with urgency from both teams, and Coach Udoka quickly voiced concerns about the Rockets' early turnover issues. Houston had committed 5 turnovers in the first quarter alone, including 4 in the opening minutes. Once they slowed down and secured possession, the Rockets found better offensive rhythm. Still, Golden State continued to create advantages. With Jimmy Butler drawing help defenders, Curry slid into open pockets of space, but Houston's defense began rotating more intelligently. Adams, however, fell asleep on multiple off-ball actions, allowing Curry and others to punish the Rockets on slip screens and pin-downs. Jabari Smith remained a key weapon for Houston. With Golden State loading up on Sengun, Jabari filled the gaps as a perfect release valve, hitting catch-and-shoot threes and slashing into the lane. Meanwhile, Fred VanVleet was in surgical form. Whether navigating the zone or punishing mismatches, he dictated Houston's half-court offense with a mix of patience and aggression. A step-back three over the contest was just one of his many highlights. On the Warriors' side, the offense remained fluid. Curry's gravity opened passing lanes, while Draymond Green, despite dealing with foul trouble, continued making high IQ decisions. One such moment saw him direct Buddy Hield on a backdoor cut that led to a corner three for Podziemski. Defensively, however, the Warriors began to show cracks. With Green picking up his 4th and then 5th foul, Steve Kerr was forced to sit his defensive anchor. Houston seized the opportunity. Sengun's offbeat footwork in the post baffled Golden State's undersized lineup, and without Draymond's interior presence, the Rockets got to the rim with ease. The Rockets also took advantage in transition. A poorly timed shot by the Warriors led to a long rebound and a full-court touchdown pass from VanVleet to Jalen Green for a breakaway bucket. That momentum shift allowed Houston to briefly take the lead. Yet Curry, sensing the danger, responded with a trademark flurry. A reload three and an improvised crossover into a deep shot pulled Golden State back within striking distance. Meanwhile, VanVleet, now clearly limping, refused to let up. He continued hitting from deep, pushing the Rockets into halftime with a narrow but hard-earned 7-point lead. It had become clear, this wasn't going to be about individual heroics alone. It was now a test of coaching adaptability, bench depth, and how much each star could carry, physically and emotionally, to pull their team through. The stage was set for a dramatic second half. Coming out of halftime, both teams knew that the third quarter would be pivotal. With Fred VanVleet torching the Warriors in the first half, Coach Steve Kerr adjusted by immediately attacking him on defense. The goal was simple: wear him down and force him to exert energy on both ends of the floor. Draymond Green, now sitting with 5 fouls, watched from the bench as the Warriors tried to manage without their defensive quarterback. On offense, Golden State leaned into Butler's physicality and passing. In early action, Buddy Hield found himself cross-matched on Alperen Sengun, allowing Jimmy Butler to exploit the mismatch and score over Dillon Brooks on a switch. Every possession had meaning, and Golden State treated each one with surgical precision. Meanwhile, Steph Curry continued to defy defensive pressure. Jalen Green tried to crowd him, but the tighter the defense, the more surgical Curry became. He hit a contested three in Green's face, then orchestrated a brilliant pick-and-roll that led to Butler finding Hield for an open layup under the rim. The Warriors had opened the third quarter on a 10-0 run, a clear message that they weren't backing down. The Rockets, however, adjusted swiftly. Jalen Green, who had been struggling, became aggressive off the dribble. Even as the Warriors paid extra attention to Curry off a flare screen, Green relentlessly attacked the gap and got downhill. His drives, combined with Houston's physical frontcourt of Sengun and Adams, created second-chance opportunities and wore down Golden State's interior. With the game tightening, Kerr had to gamble and reinserted Draymond. It was a bold move with 5 fouls on the board, but the Rockets were starting to feast in the paint. As expected, Sengun immediately challenged Draymond in the post. However, Dre's presence alone changed the complexion of the floor. Suddenly, Houston's guards were settling for jump shots, and the Warriors' rotations looked sharper. Golden State capitalized on the defensive stops. Butler, now commanding attention on drives, showcased elite patience. One possession saw him draw 2 defenders on the left wing before swinging a no-look pass to the opposite corner for a wide-open 3. It was a possession that epitomized playoff basketball: spacing, unselfishness, and execution under pressure. Still, Houston refused to fold. With Golden State doubling Sengun in the post, the Rockets executed quick swing passes to find shooters or secondary drivers. Jabari Smith Jr. continued to be a problem, slithering into the lane and connecting with Steven Adams, who had quietly been an effective finisher around the rim. Then came Fred VanVleet, again. Off a Podziemski double team, he drilled his 6th three-pointer of the night, forcing another Warriors timeout. The Rockets had reclaimed control, momentarily. But the Warriors weren't done. With Curry acting as a decoy on the baseline, Draymond slipped a screen and found himself free. The Rockets were now miscommunicating in transition defense, leaving Jimmy Butler alone inside to finish. Kerr smelled blood and implemented a hack-of-Adams strategy, sending the big man, who had been a rebounding force, to the free-throw line. It worked. Houston's rhythm stalled, and Adams had to sit. Still, VanVleet wouldn't let the momentum die. Despite visibly limping, he danced behind an Alperen Sengun screen and hit yet another deep 3, his 7th. The veteran guard was the heartbeat of Houston, providing stability to a young team in uncharted playoff territory. Golden State closed the quarter with a flurry. Podziemski continued his hot shooting, and Jimmy Butler pulled up with a tough, contested shot that defied logic. With one final possession, the Dubs drew up a baseline out-of-bounds play that saw Curry shake Sengun with a soft pump fake and bury a buzzer-beating 3. After 3 quarters, the Warriors clung to a narrow 2-point lead. Emotions were high, legs were heavy, and strategy had become as important as execution. The fourth quarter promised fireworks, and both teams had more to give. The fourth quarter began with a bang, literally. Brandon Podziemski, riding a wave of momentum from the third quarter, lifted to the wing, received a DHO, and knocked down yet another 3. The rookie was playing well beyond his years, delivering shot after shot with the poise of a seasoned veteran. He wasn't just scoring, he was changing the energy in the building. But Houston wasn't going quietly. In early offense, Amen Thompson drove straight through Golden State's defense, exposing their interior weakness with Draymond still on the bench. His relentless attacking drew fouls and forced switches, and once Klay Thompson bit on a drive, the Rockets regained confidence in the lane. With Golden State's lack of size exposed, it seemed inevitable that Coach Kerr would have to reinsert Draymond despite his 5 fouls. On the offensive end, however, Butler kept Houston honest by finally hitting a deep 3 after being dared to shoot. Jimmy's ability to play through physicality and still create shots under pressure was the steadying force Golden State needed. Meanwhile, Sengun was having a masterful second half. Whether spinning off defenders in the post or muscling through smaller matchups, he anchored the Rockets' offense. He tied the game at 88 with a graceful yet forceful move in the paint, and Draymond, visibly frustrated on the sideline, was preparing to check back in. As soon as he returned, the tone shifted. Golden State's rotations tightened. Amen Thompson, who had sliced through defenders earlier, now found himself forced into tough mid-range jumpers. Draymond's presence erased easy looks and provided the vocal direction the Warriors had lacked in his absence. Still, the Rockets had a tactical answer. They neutralized Steph Curry with traps and top blocks, forcing the ball out of his hands. But that opened up lanes for others. In one beautifully timed sequence, Curry acted as a decoy, while Draymond slipped a screen. Jabari had to rotate off Butler to help, and Jimmy made them pay with a laser pass and a timely finish. Coach Udoka countered by switching everything, but that strategy backfired on a baseline inbound where Sengun ended up isolated on Curry. Steph gave him a simple pump fake, not even a convincing one, and drained a triple to beat the buzzer, extending the Warriors' lead. Then came perhaps the biggest defensive stand of the game. Houston tried to isolate Butler, but Steven Adams came from the weak side and swatted the shot. Seeing how effectively Adams was altering shots, Kerr made a calculated risk. He initiated Hack Adams again. It paid off. Adams missed key free throws and was eventually pulled, costing Houston their best rebounder in the clutch. Even so, Fred VanVleet wasn't finished. Despite a noticeable limp, he kept firing and connecting. His 8th 3 of the game tied it up at 104. For a moment, it seemed like the Rockets might steal it. But Podziemski had other plans. Off a Butler drive-in kick, he absorbed contact, banked in a floater, and earned the and one. The rookie was playing like a closer. Then came the moment that decided the game. With the ball in Sengun's hands, and the Rockets down 3, Draymond Green clamped down with classic footwork, chest-to-chest defense, and a timely contest. Sengun's shot missed. Draymond ripped the rebound, and with it, secured the win. The final score, 109-106. Warriors win. It wasn't just a game. It was a coaching masterclass, a tactical battle filled with real-time adjustments, emotional leadership, and gut-wrenching decisions. Kerr's risky choices paid off. Udoka's counters kept Houston alive. In the end, experience, poise, and timely execution pushed Golden State to a 3-1 series lead. This was playoff basketball at its best: intense, emotional, cerebral, and unforgettable.